professional. The thing is that there's some circumstances sometimes that lead up to a chain of events that can lead to an accident. Anyway, I arrive on the bridge, and there's this white light flashing right into my eyes. And I look at the radar screen. It's not ranged properly. I range out, take a bearing of the light, and look at the range on the radar, and just yelled out, XO has the con, full speed astern, both engines, port 30, brought the ship around to, sort of curled around to the port side, and brought the ship into deeper water. We were with only, I'd say, 200 yards of running aground on Turnpoint Light, or Turnpoint Island. And I confusion on the bridge, a whole bunch of excitement. Well, Captain wakes up in a panic. What the F is going on here? And the officer of the watches jump out, said the XO has the con. And so I said, I've still got the con. I got the ship into a safe position and steadied up on the course that we were supposed to be. And then the captain turns to me and he said, what happened? And I said, I woke up and we had an issue. And he said, I'll talk to you in a minute. And then he goes over to the officer. He said, the ship is safe. The officer of the watch, take a fix. And we were. At any rate, comes back to me and he said, what happened? I said, and I described exactly the situation that we were in. And I said, this is what happened. And he turns to me. He says, I'll see you in my cabin in 15 minutes. And I said, well, geez, I'm going to get ripped. You just ripped the officer of the watch. He's going to rip me. Got into the cabin and he had a huge glass of brandy for me because of our... And he says, you not only just saved the ship, but you've just proven to me that you're now ready to be the captain of your own ship. So, fast forward a couple more years, I was captain of my own ship. So it really, these sorts of events, I've had the same sort of event in another experience, which wasn't so good. And as the XO of, I went from XO of Huron to XO of HMC's Protector and did East Timor, but while we were in home port after that particular deployment, the spidey senses are really fine-tuned right now. And you usually, part of the joining routine is you come and see the XO of the ship to get your little chick card signed before you, as you come in, as you get posted in. So I had these 3 young sailors that came into the ship, and I think they were all engineers, as I recall. And I looked them over and talked to them, and I said, and I looked at this one guy, and I looked right into his eyes, and I didn't like what I was seeing. There was something wrong about this guy. There was something I couldn't put my thumb on. And so I told him, and I said, the last thing I said, if there's anything that's bothering you, or if you have a problem, you come and see me. Even if your chief doesn't talk to you, but come and see me. And so 3 months go by, I think it was maybe 4, and I talked to my coxswain, and I talked to his divisional officer. I said, keep an eye on this young man, because I think there's something weird about it, and I can't put my finger on it. I said, but keep an eye on him. 4 months later, I'm in bed with my wife, getting ready for work, get a phone call at 5:30 in the morning. Sir, you got to come down to the ship. And he said, what? And he said, we've had an incident, and we found able seaman, or ordinary seaman so had hung himself in one of the mess decks. And I said, is that the same engineer that I talked to that I told you guys to watch out for? And he said, yes. So the bottom line is, you feel bad, that you should have supervised this young kid, or there was a problem with the system in terms of not recognizing that and not keeping us apprised that he had a mental health issue going on. And so I took all those lessons, and I've applied them not just within the military aspects of it. I've applied them in my own personal life, whether it be my kids, but not trying to look at it in terms of a hard fact, rational point, but trying to put myself, it's called perspective thinking, trying to put myself in their shoes. How are they seeing this? How are they dealing with this? And so we managed to sort out some family issues around that. The same thing applies in my day-to-day life. In fact, Michelle, Chief of Police there, might have recalled there was an incident on Friday night. I'm a member of the Dartmouth Concert Association, and Friday, my wife, she sets up the Woodlawn United Church. And she went that afternoon and then came back for dinner. And while we were eating for dinner, I said, I said, Judy, I said, look, have you made sure, and this was, just following the attacks going on in Sri Lanka on the churches there. I said, did you make sure that the back doors and everything are locked? And I said, I got this nasty feeling, and I'm not afraid to share that. And she said, well, I'll check. But anyway, off she goes, and then I go. We attend the concert. At intermission, I go back to the front to see how things are going, and she's getting coffee ready, and she said, you remember what we discussed at supper? I said, yes, I just had a police officer just arrived here while the first part of the concert was going. He said, lock all the doors, we have somebody in the neighborhood that's walking around with a rifle. And said, I'll stay, the squad car stayed out front. And I said, holy crap, geez. So we were going to stay in the church until they resolved the situation. Well, what I can say, fortunately, it turned out that it was a gentleman, maybe an English gentleman with a brawly out in the neighborhood there. But all of that is, it's trying to, I'm not trying to say that it's paranoid or there's, this sixth sense. I'm not seeing dead people out there, but it's this. Everybody has this capacity, and it requires training in it. And so, what I tell some of my other charges out there, or some of my other people that I do, I said, try to look at the world in a holistic sense. Your right side of the brain really looks at the world in a much, what I call the 30,000-foot view, but then the other side, the left side of your brain, does all of the analysis. And just to finish off a couple of other anecdotes, my son-in-law, well, ex-son-in-law now, was a sailor, but he got tasked to go to Afghanistan, and we had to sit down. I said, look, Joe, I said, before you go, I want to talk to you. I want to share it with, an admiral shared with me. When it doesn't feel right, do something about it when you're out there, okay? Protect yourself, protect your friends, protect your buddies, but look after yourself. I want you to come home safe. And I got an email saying, you know what you told me? He said, yeah. I said, well, I won't tell Laura this, my daughter. I said, but we were standing at the gate, and I felt that same thing that you told me about. And I closed I told everybody to come in, close the gate. 25 seconds later, a guy, an Afghan or Taliban probably, on a motorcycle just outside the gate, blew himself up, killed a bunch of policemen and a bunch of people, but saved everybody that was inside. He managed to save everybody that was inside. So he is now sharing that, and he shared it with his best friend who was on patrol in Afghanistan, walking through an olive grove in Afghanistan. And he shared that same sort of story, my philosophy, or what I was told, what I told him, shared it with his best friend, Brent, who happened to be with one of the regiments that were over there, walking through this olive grove and leading a company-size group. And he told everybody to stop before they went any further into the olive grove. And he stopped, and one of the Taliban had planted a claymore mine on one of the trees, and it detonated remotely. And anyway, it caught him, and he lost an eye as a result, and shrapnel throughout his body. But the fact is he knew there was something wrong, and he couldn't put his finger on it, and he did it. He managed to save the rest of his company and lives. So, if you have that feeling, don't be shy. Don't shy away from it. If you have that sense that there's something wrong, or whether it be in your business relationships, or whether you're in business mergers, or you're playing sports, or in your personal relationships, trust that voice that you have inside you. I can't emphasize that enough, that it's a valuable tool. It takes some practice, but when you are looking at an issue in a holistic sense, and you're experiencing your environment in terms of mindfulness, you're listening to sounds, you're watching people, or you're watching the environment, you're hearing, you're smelling. Use all your senses, because that will actually improve your sixth sense. So I'd like to leave you with a quote. One of the best quotes I've ever came across actually came from Albert Einstein, who basically said, intuitive thinking is a gift. And it's this cognitive thinking, this rational thinking, that's truly a servant to that gift. And he said the problem with our society today is that we bow to the servant, and we forget about the gift that we have. We all have. And so one of the last things, when we walk around looking into these things all the time, we lose awareness of what's going on in our environment. we lose the perspective that we need to have in terms of our relationships with people around us. So I leave you with that thought, and share that lesson. Share those lessons with your friends and your family and your partners. Good. Thank you.